Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. My name is Scott, and today we will be wrapping up my September reads. Before we get too far into it, you may have noticed a little different background today. So my beautiful wife Debbie, featured here, who is my production assistant of the day, wanted to experiment with a different setup. So please let me know in the comments if this is something you like seeing different than my normal setup. Or if you like them the same or whatnot. So we started off the month with Stephen King's newest entry, which is Fairy Tale. If you listened at all to me last month, you know that I was very much looking forward to this book, and unfortunately, it let me down quite a bit. So you probably heard me talk about it a little bit in my September mid-month if you watched that video, but ultimately, I think it's a product of my expectations versus necessarily any fault with the book. But that first third of the book, I was having an amazing time. I was certain this was going to be one of my books of the year. Everything was going swimmingly. I was loving our main character. I was loving Radar the dog. I was loving Bowditch, the old grumpy curmudgeon dude. Everything was going great. I was loving the narration by Seth Numrich. Everything was great. And then it just crash landed, and for the next 55 to 60% of the book was just not terribly enjoyable to me. So this seems to be a pretty similar theme to other booktubers that also read the book in September. So check out some of their reviews, but ultimately I was let down quite a bit. Still 3 Stanley nods, still a book I would say is definitely worth reading, but not quite what I was certainly hoping for. Next up, we have another 3 Stanley nod read by another author that I absolutely love. Malcolm Gladwell is one of my very favorite author in the nonfiction space. He narrates many of his own audiobooks, which was the case with this one as well. But ultimately, as I mentioned in my mid-month, the subject matter itself just wasn't really what I was hoping for. I love when he really delves into humanity and what makes us tick and socioeconomic things and different societal studies and this kind of stuff. And I just wasn't really here for a telling of individuals that were part of various factions in World War II to build better bombs. It wasn't really my kind of thing. So certainly well told, well narrated, well written, well researched, well everything. Just not my kind of thing. So if you're into military history, I think you would probably enjoy it a lot. That kind of real world stuff is just not typically my thing, and that was the case here. So good book, but not necessarily for me. Let's move on to things that I actually did like quite a bit, and everything else I did like at least quite a bit. And we'll move on to The River of Souls. This is book 5 of the Matthew Corbett series. Quite good, although quite short. So it was around 225 pages, where most of the Corbett novels are north of 500 pages. So it's about half the size of what we typically get. It did introduce a new character that I really do like in Magnus Muldoon, I believe his name was. So a complicated character that I think was treated quite well in the story. It's left in a weird place, which sort of makes its low page count a little more baffling. So my hope is that when I jump into Freedom of the Mask in October, some of those loose threads will be tied up and that kind of thing. But, overall, a really good book, and I'm loving the series, obviously. Again, it is narrated by Eduardo Ballerini, who, again, is my favorite narrator that I've discovered this year, favorite new narrator. So really, really enjoying what he's bringing to the series. We move on to Tales of the Sun Eater Volume 2. This is a collection of short stories and a novella in Christopher Rocchio's excellent Sun Eater That's a Sun Eater series. And I'm told that some of these stories will tie directly into where we're going with Ashes of Man, which I've already started a little bit, and will be my first read of October. So excited about that. Four Stanley Nods here as well. Quite good. I like Rocchio short fiction, even though short fiction's not really my thing. So, all right. Next up, we start to get into some rereads. So, I've been doing more rereading this year, which has been quite enjoyable. And one of the things I've been rereading is Sherlock Holmes. So I did Study in Scarlet and The Sign of the Four. Those are both very short novellas, about 100 pages each. And I did The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, which is a collection of short stories. It's around 250 pages. So it's all very, very short, but very, very great. So I had not read these since high school. I hadn't revisited them. And as it happened, I had the complete Sherlock Holmes access to that. There's a ton of different audiobook narrators that have done it, and I'm sure they're all great, but the version that I am listening to is by Simon Vance, one of my 4 favorite narrators on this planet. I love Simon Vance. Everything he does is magical, and he really, really attacks this with a lot of love and reverence for the material. So it's fantastic. I will be certainly continuing on with Sherlock throughout the rest of this year. I'll probably complete all of it, I would guess, in the coming months. But yeah, I'm really, really digging it. It is excellent to revisit, and especially excellent to revisit with Simon reading it to me. So 4 Stanley Nods throughout for those books. We then move on to a couple more rereads, which obviously I'm continuing on with Sun Eater rereading, and I completed this month both. I keep looking the wrong way. Both Demon in White, which was one of my very favorite books last year, and Kingdoms of Death, which was one of my very favorite books this year. And they both held up considerably, and I like them even more than the first time around, which is pretty amazing. So if you're not reading Sun Eater, again, you're just doing it wrong. Please, please, please buy this man's books, support him, and read everything that he has penned. Christopher Rocchio is one of the very exciting new voices in sci-fi fantasy, and does not have nearly enough readership for how great his books are. So make it happen. So with these, I am ready to go, and again, have started Ashes of Man already, and am having a great time already. So really excited to get that read and reviewed. And that leaves us with my books of the month, and that is the Beartown series by the amazing Frederick Bachman. This is now 5 books I've read by Bachman, and I've loved every single book. He is quickly becoming one of my very favorite authors. So the series is about a small hockey town and its rival hockey town real close by, and some of the terrible things that people do in those communities. These are not easy, breezy reads. They're not challenging in terms of the reading experience. They're challenging in terms of how they make at least me feel, and I'm sure other people as well. The people here do terrible things to one another. There are things that are just unconscionable that happen to these characters that I really grow attached to and love. There is a lot of violence. There is a lot of non-consensual sex. There's a lot of very, very terrible things going on, and it's explored in a very meaningful way. This had been on my radar for a while because I love this author and I wanted to check out really his whole catalog, but I decided to go through this month and read it because the final volume, The Winners, came out just the other day on September 27th. So I decided I was going to read Beartown, which is book 1, and Us Against You, which is book 2, leading up to that release. And I actually did get an advanced reader copy a couple of days before the release, so I was able to get a jump start on it, but I just finished it up a couple days ago. So I can't say enough about these books. They're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. There are definitely experiences and things that are explored here that are going to be traumatic for people to read, and I totally understand that. If you're not into sports, hockey's not really my thing, but team sports are something that I appreciate and have a lot of love for. So some of those tropey type things that happen with that kind of stuff isn't going to work for everybody, but it's right up my alley. Yeah, a series is great. So 5 Stanley nods all the way across the board. Easily the best things, new things, Sun Eater is the best things I read this month, but the best new things that I read this month. So easy pick for book of the month. I will certainly continue with Bachman. I think coming up, I still need to get to Britt Marie, which my friend Jack over Jack and the Bookstack said is excellent. There's a couple others that he has done that I haven't read yet that I need to get to, but he's at this point an auto-buy author that I'm just gonna read everything that he does. I did these via audio. Scribed, which is a subscription-based service, has all of his stuff on audio. So I did all 3 of these on audio. The narrator is Marin Ireland, and she's, again, one of my favorite narrators. She did these 3 books, as well as Anxious People, which is his, and I read earlier this year that was also great. Pretty good when Anxious People is my least favorite of his books, and that is an easy 4 Stanley Nod books. So the guy is just an automatic at this point. So really loving his stuff. Easily my favorite new to me author this year. So great stuff. As far as statistics go, that is, I guess it's 13 books. I said 12. That's 13 books finished. Average Stanley Nod rating of 4, 4,184 total pages read, 349 pages per book, and an average of around 139 pages per day. So pretty productive month overall. Also this month, thank you to everyone. We eclipsed 500 subscribers, so I'm very excited about that. As of today, I'm at 529 subscribers. I think when I wrapped up last month, I was around 90 to 100 less than that. So it's been a very good month in terms of channel growth, and hopefully that will continue as we go. I'm so appreciative of everyone that has subscribed, that has watched the videos, that has commented especially. That is always appreciated. But that's everything. So I hope you're all having and had a wonderful reading month in September. I'd love to hear about your favorite books that you read and what I should add to my ongoing and massive TBR as we move forward. But until next time, publication order always, my friends.